So, as inflation strains global economy, supply chain experts are advocating for collaboration, technology, and streamlined processes to reduce costs and improve efficiency. And research shows that these strategies can cut supply chain costs by, 15%, maybe more, and boost productivity, playing a crucial role in countering inflation and supporting economic growth. We have one of those players with us, Emeka Eboagwu, a supply chain thought leader and managing director at Pentland Group. Emeka, thanks for joining us. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So what does Pentland Group do? What do you
So we are a conglomerate of 3 different companies. One, we're doing oil and gas, EPC, engineering, procurement and construction. So that's Pentland Energy Limited. And we also have a real estate company, Pentland Realties Limited, and an agricultural company called Pentland Agro Limited.
Hey, all right. So the oil and gas, real estate, the agricultural space. So, you know, in terms of how to bring costs down, do we start with the agri space? Or
let's talk about inflation generally.
Okay, let's do that.
So inflation in Nigeria, it's possible. It's due to what I call 3 elements.
Yeah.
Black Swan events, the global Black Swan event, where we have COVID, and where we also had the Ukraine-Russia war, really made prices of goods everywhere, all over the world, go high.
Yeah.
And that means cost of raw materials are high, the cost of production is quite high, and pretty much everything you see that has to do with either food supply chain, pharmaceutical supply chain just went berserk. I mean, the prices went up. And taking it back to Nigeria, and in the past 13, 14 months or 15 months, the cost of goods have gone up to 200%, 300%
Yep.
from, just name it, any kind of staple foods, rice, wheat, or what's it called, sugar, cassava flour, just name it, everything has gone up.
Yeah.
And the reason why we have this is the fact that I still think that Nigeria as a country don't have an understanding and the visibility of supply chains.
Okay.
If we do understand how supply chain works, we as a country would be able to at least reduce the cost of the final price of goods and commodities to the Mama Emeka out there, you know, down there, or Mama Risi down there, so that they can understand, they won't feel the impact of the rising cost of goods and services.
Yeah, but it's a value chain, right? So
yes, it's a supply chain.
Well,
yeah.
thank you, supply chain. So you've talked, you know, you have research on collaboration. So how do we break down this collaboration between the different players to where the final person won't feel that?
So there are 2 models that typically speaks to collaboration, collaborative work in supply chains. One that has to do with government and economic policy,
okay,
and with the manufacturers or with the producers, and the manufacturers to manufacturers as to what they do with each other. So let's talk about the government policies and government. For example, rice.
Right.
Rice as a product shouldn't be more than, in terms of cost of producing, should be more than 40,000.
For a 50 kg bag of rice?
Yes, I can try, and I'll give you an analysis of that.
Okay.
If you look at the price of 1 metric ton of rice from Thailand or from India, FOB, free on board, that means the price you get before it's exported from Thailand, what you see is around $416 to $500 per metric ton. If you do a back of the envelope analysis, this should take you to around 39,000 naira or 40,000 naira per 50 kg of rice. That's the cost from Thailand or from India. Now, and I'd like to say something here because I know the government is doing quite a lot, and they've given a zero duty on most staple foods from August, imports coming from August to December.
Right.
But how much is the duty cost? It's just around 28%, maximum 50%. So you buy a product of 40,000 naira from Thailand, and at the end of the day, the cost to the retailer or the buyers out there is 120, 130.
Right.
That's a 300% increase in terms of inflationary prices. And for governments to be able to push that back, so they've done the cost of duty side, then they need to go take a step further to look at what is the cost of fund for the manufacturers. What's the cost of producing these elements in Nigeria? The cost of power, the cost of staff. There's this increment, the wage bill.
Right.
So that's
which has gone up. Yep.
And that would definitely affect the cost of producing some of these items. So the government needs to now take a step further and ask, what are the staple foods that we have? Wheat, bread, the noodles. The noodles. So you've done a bit in terms of reducing the duty.
Yeah.
But go a step further to say, what is the cost of funding this operation? Banking costs at the moment is around 36% to 40% per annum. That's a big burden.
Yeah.
A big burden on any manufacturer. So you pay that to manufacture, and next thing is you're looking at cost of distribution. The cost of fuel has gone up. The cost of buying trucks to move those things have gone up.
Yeah.
So there's an element of what I call hyperinflation everywhere, from raw material cost, exchange rates, to manufacturing cost, which is power, people, facility, to inventory cost, to distribution cost, and now to sale cost. If government is able to create an enabling environment with manufacturers, where they can understand the entire value chain of for example, a rice or wheat commodity, they can then ask manufacturers to say, for example, bread should not go more than 500 naira or 600 naira. A loaf. As a price cap. We've seen countries do it. Egypt has done it. India has done it.
They love bread in Egypt.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
Yeah. So you can say that, but that has to come with a sense of collaboration with importers, with manufacturers, to be able to set the right price for some of this item. So I talked about greedflation, where even though these commodities are high, but because nobody's seeing or nobody's watching what the price is, the trend of the prices, the manufacturers are also being greedy. They want to make 200%, 100% margin, and that has to be stopped. So I would personally call on the Minister of Trade and Investment, the Finance Minister, where it's cost of fund with the CBN, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act, to work together with MAN and say, how do we address some of these staple foods in supply chains? So wheat is critical, I can tell you, for bread, for flour, for everything you see around a general home, that wheat is critical. How do we make sure that the cost of bread is low, the cost of other commodities that come out of wheat is low?
Sugar, yeast, all those
just
things.
name it. Everything should work, and so there's a collaborative work from the government. Let's take it to the manufacturers. What I see or what I know is that most manufacturers work in silos. So a company A is doing their stuff, not speaking to company B as to what they are doing, or company C is doing stuff and they're not talking to each other. I would encourage a situation where there can be resource collaboration. We want to do some demand planning. We're looking at buying 30 metric ton of wheat. Why do I do it alone? If I can get more production capacity to bring 100 metric ton, I ask other companies, are you coming in with wheat? What can we do to bring our wheat together to reduce some transportation costs, some inventory costs? That way, the collaborative work between manufacturers can also reduce. That has been shown to reduce cost of products by 10%. When manufacturers come together to work collaboratively in sharing resource, in demand planning with each other, and in communicating. Communication is very key. Sometimes a manufacturer will buy a commodity very high. Then someone has knowledge elsewhere, and maybe you're buying at $5-16 and somebody's buying at $4.15. If they collaborate in terms of doing what they're doing, then they can then bring in commodities at very, very low price.
This is fantastic stuff. I mean, I think you should be a policy advisor now, right? But does technology come into any of this at all? Because so far, you haven't really mentioned tech. It seems that this is more of a...
So supply chain is evolving. Let me put it straight. Supply chain is evolving. We're seeing quite a lot of stuff happening in supply chains. What I've just mentioned now are just policy related. But in terms of operations, we are seeing the use of AI in data analysis, in understanding demand patterns, understanding demand planning, trying to go against what I call a blue whip effect, demand and supply management. There are IoTs, Internet of Things, there are bots, that are being placed just to be able to get data and manage resources very, very efficiently. We are not yet there here in Nigeria, but this is what's happening globally. Companies can reduce their cost of operation if they get to use technology in their supply chains. So, for example, Amazon is using robots. If you go to any Amazon store, you will see few people working and you see robots working. That way, cost of operation is reduced, and you can efficiently manage the final cost of commodity or final cost of goods to the layman out there.
How much of all this, again, going back to your policy breakdown, should that be decentralized to the state level? It's sort of a holistic conversation of government, because we're a really big country with so many people. Should it be broken down?
So there are things the federal government can do, and there are things the state government can do. So let me put it in context.
Yeah.
Taxes are driven by federal government.
Right.
Cost of operations are driven by states. So we should see where state governments are calling manufacturers within their states to have this conversation of how can we make life better and easier for you. If you're a manufacturer in some states, the kind of taxes you get from TV license to just name it, how can we ensure that in the next 1 year, the cost of goods coming out of your factory in this state can be reduced by 10%, 20%.
Well, actually, and this is where the Taiwo Oyedele-led committee on fiscal policy on tax comes in, because they're trying to, unify these taxes,
tax
right. So that but then it's what you said is a lot of stuff. Is there enough time to get all this done?
So it's easy. I mean, it's something I say it's very easy. So we've dealt with the tax structure. The next thing is transportation, logistics, and other intermodal structure. How are we using trains to move things from Lagos to Kano?
Right. How
many goods are moving? Are we moving with trains from Lagos to Kano?
Compared to road. Right.
How much CNG are we using to transport to change from diesel to CNG? So, for example, if the Minister of Petroleum and Trade and Investment can speak to manufacturers to say, we have 5,000 CNG system to change your trucks, and we are giving you the first right of refusal to take them so that you can move your truck away from diesel-powered trucks
to CNG. And then the presidency already has a CNG program. So, I guess we're moving in the right direction, because what you've pointed out, they seem to already have begun this process. I think the issue, Joe, is just for them to happen fast enough to where we can see an impact, because that just seems to be what the issue is. So speed and efficiency of getting these policies implemented, so you get an instant or a gradual impact over time.
Our slow mode of implementation is what the challenge is.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping us from taking 1,000 truck, and in 3 weeks, we have 1,000 truck powered by CNG. Right. There's nothing stopping us from having that in Nigeria. How many wheat producers do we have? How many manufacturers of noodles do we have in Nigeria?
Right.
Think about it that way.
Right.
How much do they move every other day, every other week? Think about it. If you're able to go granular in terms of ensuring that, we have big policies there, but take it down to Mr. A and B, C, I don't want to call names, manufacturing company, and ensure that these companies can easily key into the policy and start driving the change that we want.
Yeah.
The problem is I don't want to say that but I think there's an improvement opportunity with our policy execution models. In other part of the world, things happen quickly. In 3 weeks, in 2 weeks, you start seeing changes. But I think we have an improvement opportunity as a government or as a people in executing our policies. Hey, this has been a fantastic discussion. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Emeka Eboagwu, MD of Pentland Group. Really appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you, Otis.